Hi everyone, this is the BLUETTI Elite 30 V2 power station. It has 288 watt hours, capable of quite a bit of output from AC ports as well as the DC section. I'll be analyzing all the specifications and all its features with its application and see whether it is worth the money to purchase one of these. It's very small and it's possibly very good for camping as well as a certain backup purposes. All right, so for the structure of this video, I'm going to go into specifications next. It's just going to be basic specifications. Then I'm going to do charging tests for all the charging methods. I'm going to do output tests, a lot with the AC ports, but all ports I do test. Then I'm going to dive into the UPS and a little bypass charging. Then I'm going to go into the BLUETTI app. Lastly, I'll do pros and cons, who this is best for, and then my own thoughts and final thoughts on this product. All right, so specifications, I'm just gonna run through these real quick. Battery capacity, 288 watt hours, pretty small. Portable, it's got a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is always good. It has a lot of longevity for the battery. Weighs just under 10 pounds. It has a carrying handle, so it is decently portable. AC charging and bypass charging are both really high. 380 watts is a lot for a small system like this. DC input is, I think, relatively average or slightly above average, 200 watts max. You can do DC and AC charging at the same time. And then the AC output is around 600 watts continuously, which is very high. It has a UPS, test that in the video. And then it has the output options here. It has high-powered USB-Cs, up to 140 watts for one of them. And so those are the basic specs. All right, guys, we're gonna do the charging portion with the AC charger. Over here, I've got the AC power cord plugged in, and it'll go directly into this side pod. So I'm just gonna undo it. First off, I'll show you the power that it's at right now, 41%. So let's go ahead and I'll open this up. Go ahead and see how things go. Looking at here, it's pretty high input for a small power station of this battery size. It looks like we're gonna stay around there for a while. All right, so I unplugged the charger because I noticed that there are different AC charging modes, and I was on, I think, standard, and I realized there's a turbo mode that allows up to 380 watts. And so I'm gonna go ahead and turn that mode on and show you how to do it. Another thing here has to do with the charging time from basically zero battery, 80% in 45 minutes. So I wanna see how that works, and I will show you where to find that. All right, so to configure and try and get into this turbo mode, we have to look at it here. And this is without the application. I haven't tried that out yet, but I'm sure it's easier with the application. So you wanna press and hold the AC and DC power buttons for a couple seconds, and then it'll turn this P01, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And we wanna get to the AC charging mode, which is P03. All right, so from the manual, what we're trying to do is do the turbo charging with the AC, and that's number 2, which means it's this icon. Now I figured it out here, and now I'll show you how to make it stick. Hold these 2 buttons down, click the DC, it goes to P03, now you click the AC, so we just get that power lifting, or the turbo charge. But you have to click these both again, or hold them down at least, and then it automatically has this. Now the eco mode might interfere with this, so I'm gonna plug it in, and then let's see how fast it charges. Now we're talking. Now that's fast. All right, so even with the eco mode on, as long as it has that icon above, it's going to charge extremely fast through the wall outlet, just the AC wall outlet. This thing is going to be fully charged very soon, And this is very fast, even compared to my EcoFlow, which is another fast charging system. All right, now I'll just switch to silent charging, which is this icon. Go ahead and do the same thing here. Hold these two down. Oops. I don't know what I did there. All right, hold these two down. PL3. There we go, now it's just that showing. Hold these down. Now we have that, and let's make sure that it charges at the right rate. Should be around 200 watts or less. And this method will take 3 hours to charge, according to the directions from a completely depleted battery. All right, so I want to test the DC car charger it came with, and I'm going to use my EcoFlow River Max older power station. I'm going to use its carport to charge this system. Now, this isn't a perfect test, but it'll at least show you how it would be done if you were to use it in your car. On this charger, it just has a basic instruction. Make sure it's fully inserted into the socket in your car. All right, so I'm gonna turn this on. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in. Make sure it's all the way in there, and it is. All right, now let's go ahead and see how it charges in here. All right, so just over 100 watts in there. In terms of solar charging, if we look at this again, you'll see solar input, regardless of mode, is 200 watts. But for solar panels, you want to know the voltage rating and how many amps it can take. And looking at DC input, you can see 200 watts max, 12 to 28 volts, 10 amp max. So it's important to understand this for when you intend to use solar, because the voltage matters, amperage matters, and that's how it leads up to 200 watts.
All right, here's the setup. Got the 220 watt solar panels. About to budge into each other. I might have to move that one back a little. So sun's going down a little bit. It's about 3:30 or something like that. We're at 21% battery, so I could use a recharge. Now we're gonna plug it in. All right, just plugged it in. Here we go. Come on, input. There we go. Nice. 107. All right, so after this, nice. I'm gonna let this go for a little bit, and then come back in an hour or two, edit some of the other parts of the video that I gotta do, and see how much it charged up. Started at like 21 or 22%. Nice, got to 120 there. All right, be right back. All right, so it's been roughly an hour. Sun's going down. You can see there's shade on the panels, so definitely didn't get as much output, but let's see how we did here. Now 44% charged, which is pretty nice. Yeah, we're only getting like 9 watts, but yeah. So double the battery capacity in 30 minutes an hour. Not bad. All right, this is my current setup. It's around 2:30. You can see I only have one solar panel connected, but I unlocked through the app the ability for it to accept higher current for solar panels. And with just one solar panel connected, it went from about 50 something watts to, you can see at 93 watts from one solar panel.
93 watts, and that's just from one solar panel. The previous test didn't really showcase the abilities of charging because I was on that locked setting. So I'm gonna try and get the other solar panel set up, see how many watts we could really get fully with these this panel. All right, so now this is my full setup. You can see that panel's a little lopsided, but I just want to see how this test plays out. All right, we're at 93 watts. Now I'm plugging in the other one. Now you can see we got 180 watts. So unlocking that setting is really going to help with getting the full solar panel input. So this wasn't allowing me to get over 8 amps, but now it's allowing me to get around 10 amps of power. So there's a lot of energy that I'm able to capture from solar just by enabling that solar setting. So roughly 180 watts, not bad. All right, so I just went back to basically the same setup here, but I switched in the BLUETTI settings, the high current allowance. You can see it went from about 170, 175 to 157 right away. And that's without changing really anything. So it's an extra 20 watts, 25 watts of power that I got just from that one setting. All right, and for high current mode, you can see that on the main page here, clicking the upper right hand settings icon, then I go down all the way, almost, advanced settings. You can see DC input source, and then the tab for high current, and then it gives you a warning. You just have to press the Y, and then you're good. First off, the connectors. Each of these have a 6-foot long cable, but it's decently thick. I'll take this out. I'll show you how I have my adapters set up. So I bought actually all of these on eBay. It's 2 adapters. First off, I'll unhook and show you what the solar panel came with. I have a review of this solar panel from a while back, but I'm pretty sure they still sell them, and they're the best price for value. In my opinion, could be other good ones out there, but check that out. However, these are the 2 ends of the solar panel as is. It comes with another adapter, but these also came with it, and these are similar. I think they're the exact same as like a Jackery or a Goal Zero connection. Don't know if their connections have changed over the years. I think they may still use them. I think they're 8mm. So I just put both of those on here. All right, and then separate from this, I got this on eBay. This is I believe it's an 8mm. I don't even know if it said it on the listing, but it said like Jackery or Goal Zero. It like pairs with them. I connected this to Anderson, so I just did that. And then from here, I had to get this separately, also from eBay, specific charging port. So all you gotta do is connect these and the yellow to the yellow. That's how we do it. So, all right, now I'm just gonna do a simple USB-C test. These are not gonna display the full power, but they'll at least give you a sense of just how it functions. Just gonna be pretty simple. I'm just gonna charge the power bank above using these 2 USB-C ports. We'll start with this one. I'm gonna plug it into one of these, and I need to power this on. And typically you have to, oh, no, there we go. It's already working. That's with the 100-watt max output port. This thing can only take in a max of 60, and it's getting close to being fully charged. So I think that's a success. Let's try the 140-watt. Once again, not gonna get the full amount, but it's just to make sure it's working properly. Go out in again. There we go, now we're getting the max Okay, so same idea here. 56 watts, pretty close to the maximum for this. So yeah, I don't have a device that could charge 100 or 140 watts from USB-C. So that's the best I can do, but they're both working up to at least 60 watts. All right, for the final test, I'll just be using the USB-C or USB-A ports. Just gonna make sure that they're working properly. So I'm just gonna plug in one. Go ahead and plug it back into this power bank. And turn the DC on. Okay, we got 5 watts. Let's use this port. Okay, it's measuring 6 watts. Let's try this one. Same idea there. So, yeah, I mean, they both work fine. It could be because this is almost fully charged that the output isn't maxing out at 15 watts. Not quite sure. I just know that they both work. I don't know if this is something to do with my testing or if it's just maxing out at 6 watts. All right, and just because I just plugged 2 USB-As in, and these have 2 input ports, USB-C, 12 watts in, so it's the same thing. Just gonna unplug one and see what happens. And it looks like the output stayed at 13 watts. It says there's 11 watts coming in. So I think it has to do with the connector, but this is much closer to its 15 watt maximum output. All right, so I actually figured out how to get these ports, get the full output of them. And it's comes from a sloppy setup, but basically got this whole thing. It's the 5521, 5525 cable. I'm gonna connect the 5525, I don't think it matters which one, into this adapter, which then will plug into this solar adapter I had, and I'm just gonna plug it into one of them. It's the splitter cable, goes into the Anderson, and then the Anderson to the EC8, or the XT60. All right, I already tested this, so this should be working fine, but I'm gonna plug it into here, and then plug it into the EcoFlow, because it uses the same XT60, so I'm gonna be outputting into here and charging the EcoFlow. And this will give you a better sense of the wattage that'll come from these ports. And we have 12 volts, 8 amps, so what is that, 96 watts roughly from these. So I thought I got more out of it, but here's the test. Okay, it's all plugged in, all the connections. All right, now I just have to turn the DC port here, and then we'll be looking at the output watts from over here. All right, so on the right, you can see that it's outputting 136 watts roughly. And then it's inputting with all my connections about 113 watts. So this shows a little more output coming from the DC ports. So if you're using these to charge or power like a camping mini fridge or something like that, it'll at least give you a rough estimate for the output power of these ports. All right, now I'm gonna try the same thing here, but I'm just gonna do it from the car output port, which is 12 volts, 10 amps, instead of the 12 volt, 8 amps. So this will hopefully give a little more power from the BLUETTI into charge the EcoFlow. All right, now it's all plugged in, and let's see how much output power we get from the BLUETTI. All right, you can see that the output flashed a little bit to like 170 and then down to 135. You can see on the left-hand side, we're getting 121 watts of input. So a little more than the smaller ports here, but still relatively fair amount going in. So this morning our power went out, and I was using my monitors and the docking station back here to keep my laptop charged. So I guess it's a good use case to see how this can perform from its AC outputs. It's capable of 600 watts continuously, as you can see from here. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug these two cables in and see how it does. Nice, no noise. All right, so it's been about 10-15 minutes and I just heard it start making a noise. I think a fan is going right now. You see them right there. It's cut off, but the fan is signaling. All right, so our power just came back on. I'm about to unplug it, but in summary, it did pretty well. 10% battery from 130 to 150 watts being used for about, I would say like 15 minutes. And the fan came on like 3 or 4 minutes ago, and it's relatively quiet. So the temperature in here is not that cold. I would say it was about 78 degrees in here. I think that's a pretty good test there. Can take a decent amount of power continuously before its fans turn on. All right, guys, so I'm going to try this output setting, powerlifting mode, and I know it's probably hard to see on your end, but powers up to 1500 watts, pure resistive loads like electric kettles, blankets, hair dryers, etc. And then it says note, it's only for pure resistive loads rated 600 to 1500 watts. While the Elite 30 V2 can handle such loads, its actual power output is still 600 watts. And then obviously I'm taking notes here. Just haven't really used a system like this. And I'm thinking that it uses its power in this mode to max out at its 600 watt continuous output, but still be able to power certain AC appliances that allow it. So I have a steamer that will fit well with this. All right, so plugged into the wall here is the steamer, your power steamer. This thing's pretty powerful and it's rated at 800 watts. I'm gonna try and show it to you here just to prove it. And on the left-hand side, you might be able to see it there. 120 volts, 800 watts. So if this thing's rated for 600 watts, then I can use that powerlifting mode and see if I can get this thing going from the generator power station. And just to show you where this will be, because I'm gonna use the app to turn it on, it will have an icon around here, and I'll show it after I turn it on with the app. Okay, so after turning it on the app, it shows up right here. It's kind of like it's an arm, muscle, and then a little lightning bolt kind of thing. All right, so now we know that it's capable, and I'm gonna plug it in now. All right, plugging this baby in. And now I will turn on the steamer, which has water in it right now, and it's working. All right. And the steamer's heating up pretty fast. 588. So it's just under 600 watts, which is its max. I'm actually gonna tilt this way because I want to get steam on the power station. And so far, so good. And this is barely making a noise right now, which is pretty surprising because it's kind of muggy in this room. It's not too much airflow going on. And we got steam coming out. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting it to actually heat up so fast, but it heated up similarly to how I plug it into the wall. So it's actually like pretty surprising. You can see here, the 0.3 underneath is how many hours would be left at this rate. It makes sense considering this is a 288 watt hours, pretty small battery size. But yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed by this. All right, so now I'm just gonna try and do a straight up output power test using the powerlifting mode on the Elite 30. And I'm gonna power the 800 watt rated steamer, as well as the up to 500 watt rated AC charger going into the EcoFlow. So they're both plugged in right now. I gotta set up the mode, and then I'm gonna turn it on. Powerlifting is on. Turn on the AC ports, and let's see how much we can get out of this. Okay, now it started. I didn't turn the steamer on yet. Now I'm gonna turn on the steamer, and this could be an error message. This is a big deal, big kind of risk, but whatever. Gotta test it out. Here we go. Turn down the steamer. Yep. Steamer's going. Yep. We lost it. All right, EcoFlow's resetting. That's confused. Ah, all right. All right. So I think what happened there, there's no error message. What the issue, it looked like the BLUETTI here was having trouble figuring out which one to power, because they're both very high powered, and it didn't know, so it was switching it on and off, as you could see with it switching off the EcoFlow and switching on the steamer. So at least in this case, did not work. I feel like this would work with something as powerful as both of these combined, maybe a hair dryer or something like that, rated at like 1100 watts. But since it's a single hair dryer, my guess is that it will power it correctly, just not as up to 600 watts of power if the appliance allows it. So hooking up two powerful AC powered devices doesn't seem to work. Obviously, this is just one test, but it looked like it was confused on what it should power. All right, and now, just because I want to see how far we can go with this, we're going to use a vacuum cleaner with this in its high power setting to see if it can power it, and we'll go from there. All right, so this vacuum is rated 120 volts, 60 hertz, 8.5 amps. That's a little over 1,000 watts. I'm not quite sure if it'll reach that, but let's test it. And now I'll turn on the powerlifting mode the manual way, just to show it. And I'm just gonna hold it down here, hold both buttons, DC AC, and we wanna go to P04. You can see it's flashing. Click the AC button, and then we gotta hold them both down. And now we've got the powerlifting mode on. All right. Okay, so I don't expect this to work, but I wanted to see how this powerlifting mode works with something that's over 1,000 watts or roughly around there. So I'm just gonna go right to the second setting and see what is gonna happen. So here we go. I'll turn down the volume as well, obviously, so your ears don't get destroyed. Okay, I'm turning it on in 3, 2, 1. Oh, I didn't turn on the AC port. There we go. All right. Are we gonna get an error message? I don't know. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that was a little weird, and it didn't show an error message. It did run the vacuum as high as it could go. I didn't actually get the reading. It was 600 something, maybe, watts. When I was on full power mode in the vacuum, I wasn't sure if it was the vacuum making this noise or if it was from the power connectivity, but it was kind of like cycling. It was very faint, but I could hear like a very slight kind of like cycle of just like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it didn't seem to be the vacuum. I wasn't quite sure, but I moved it around. It seemed to be probably from the power station just not being able to fully support this, and I wasn't expecting it to anyway. And then when it was on the single power or the lower setting on this vacuum, it still worked, but it also still did have a you could hear the some sort of pitter patter in the way that the vacuum was working, different than if I were to just plug this into a normal wall outlet. So it can handle it, but obviously it's not like going to be made for vacuums or you know, I don't know if this applies to like hair dryers and other larger AC appliances, but it was clear to me that with like obviously a decent sized vacuum, it's not going to be like perfect, but it still it didn't show an error message. It still tried to make it effective, and it still did power it, and there was still suction, so it was still working. However, obviously I wouldn't do this in real life, like just, you know, around the house, but for testing purposes, it's a lot of power for this small unit. So I'm actually pretty satisfied with that result. Even though it's not perfect, it still can power these larger appliances. It's just not something that's like extremely practical, obviously. Another feature I want to test with the power station is using it as a UPS. The top one in this set, I could turn it off with a light switch, which could simulate a UPS backup and allow me to test the system without having to like turn off any breaker switches or anything like that. So I'm gonna plug in this lamp that I'm using for lighting into the top one. All right, but right now it's supposed to be on, and I'm gonna go back and pick up the light switch. And it's this switch here. And you'll see, I can just turn that outlet off. I'm gonna connect the AC power cord, and I'm gonna obviously just plug it in like normal from the wall to the power station. And I'm gonna simulate a power outage by turning that outlet switch off. And I'm gonna test if it can use its UPS feature successfully. All right, so for the first test with the UPS, I'm just gonna plug in 2 lights into the AC switches. I'll use this desk lamp and then this other desk lamp that I'm just using for background lighting at the moment. And it'll just be the most obvious UPS test because you'll be able to see it as well. All right, and here we have settings. Going to UPS in the middle of the screen, standard UPS, and then I'm just gonna select that again. All right, so for the first things first, I'm just gonna plug the AC power charger into the input port here, connect it to the wall, and this will just standard charge it. It should be around 200 watts. And I'm gonna plug it into the top outlet here because that's the one that I can turn on and off and simulate a UPS. Power's off, you gotta turn it on. There we go, just turn it on. And we have a signal there, which I believe just means charging from the grid. All right, now I'm just gonna plug in these 2 lights. Just wanna see how this works. Cool, I've actually never done this before. So right now it is literally using the grid power, and it's just going right through the system. There's no output, 0 watts. So this thing is going off the wall. All right. Now I'm going to put in the second light. Put in this one as well. Same idea here. Okay. So, all right. So these 2 lamps over here are both plugged in, and it's using 0 out or 0 watts from the generator. It's just going right from the wall to the lamps. I'm gonna turn the light switch off behind me and then see how fast it reacts. So you'll see a flash, and hopefully it comes back on really quick. I'm gonna test it right now. All right, 3, 2, 1. No way, that was fast. Should be nothing coming in, and it should be outputting watts. 0 watts input, and it still hasn't. It's still not showing the wattage output, but it kept them on. There's literally nothing coming in from the wall. The output is just showing 0 watts, but it is pulling in. Interesting. That was fast. All right, so I'm gonna do a little something interesting here. I have my EcoFlow River Max, and I want to use the BLUETTI, the Elite 30, to still charge and act as a UPS. I'm gonna have it be charging the EcoFlow, and this thing charges at up to 500 watts. So this will be a chest of power as well as the UPS, and hopefully everything works well. So I'm just gonna connect everything. All right, I just hooked it up to here again, and now I'm gonna connect it to this. All right, so it uses pretty much the exact same cord to charge for the EcoFlow. This is the one that came with it, and it's pretty much the exact same thing that came with the BLUETTI. Now I'm just going to make it connect to grid power. Okay, I'm plugging it in before I turn on anything. All right, it's plugged in, but I haven't turned the AC port on yet. And I can see it's charging 200 watts here. Now I'm going to turn the AC port. Okay, so you can see that it still has some output as well as input. Now the input is massive here, 500. That's really high. And now it's charging at 485.6 watts. And this is the cool part that I didn't see coming. It's charging 500 watts here. Pan to the left. You can see that the BLUETTI is still charging. So its input is 771, and its output is 571. I don't understand the 100 watt difference in how much is going in, or the power loss there, but either way, this is charging. It's still charging its battery while it's outputting that much power, which is pretty much close to its limit for the regular mode of AC output. And that's impressive. I did not see that coming, actually. I thought it was going to be an issue. I thought there was going to be some error code. You can see that we're 491 here. All right, now it's time for me to turn the power off. This will be interesting. I don't know how it'll turn out, but you'll be the first to see here. All right, so keep your eyes on the numbers. I'm about to turn off the switch. Let's see how fast this thing can react to a basically grid outage in quotes. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. No way. Okay, so now it's going back up. You see that there's no input, but now it's expelling almost its maximum continuous output. And now it's back. That's really impressive. So it turned back on right away, and then it just re-accelerated into charging the EcoFlow again. So yeah, this is an impressive UPS. I haven't tested a lot of UPSs, to be honest with you, but that one is way faster than I thought. I thought it would be a little more of a delay, but this is really cool. All right, and for eco mode, it's pretty simple here. AC and DC eco modes are enabled by default, and it allows the Elite 30 V2, it shuts off the AC or DC output after a period of lower load. Basically, if you're charging something that's under 10 watts, you may want eco mode off, but in most cases, you'll want eco mode on at all times, just because you don't want it to just, it basically prevents you from accidentally discharging power when you don't intend to. So there's the little icon there. Now, in order to turn that off, if you really wanted to, I'll go the same route here. go to P05, and I'm using this button. Okay, now it's off. Hold it down. Now it's off. All right, and here we have P06, P07, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Quickly show you how to enable and disable those. Hold these two down. You can see here. Let's go to 6. We want them both off. Okay, now they're both off. All right, so if you don't want any Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, if you're not using the application, which I think requires at least one of those, that's how you do it. I'll go ahead and turn it back on just so you can see. Okay, P06 Bluetooth, now it's on. So P07, now it's on. Press them both down, hold it. They're back on again. It's not showing because I believe it's just because the system's charging. So I'm just going to add it to the BLUETTI app through Bluetooth, and I'm just going to make sure my Bluetooth's on. You can see that it is here. So I'm just going to hold these down again and log in through the screen share on my phone. I'll use the app and show you how it's done. All right, and in the app, you can add manually, and then it gives you the binding option. You just select OK. Then you'll be taken to network settings, which will show you more information on what you need to allow. And then I'll just continue scrolling here, but it'll give you all the directions that you need in the app. All right, here we have ports. So I'm turning on the DC output via the app, and that's powering on the power station's DC outputs. Turning that one off. Next here, I'm gonna go into settings, show you how to change the device name. Very simple. And then here we have the access to different guides, manuals and such. Briefly showing you some of the different tabs like error codes, charging, and other possible troubleshooting things. And then here we have user manuals in different languages, and it just loads it right away. So it's nice. And then lastly, here's a brief overview of the FAQs, and you have a whole list there. So a couple features here that were in the app, but I didn't actually test yet, and I might test these in a follow-up video perhaps. But first one's time control, which is peak load shifting, and basically you just save costs by scheduling it. And then the Elite 30 can charge itself during off-peak hours, like it says here, and then power devices during peak hours. So that can offset some of the energy costs, especially depending on where you live. Some utility costs can be more expensive in certain areas, and it can save you a little money there potentially. PV priority, which is, you can see my notes here when I was first looking through this. It's if you have, like the picture says, you're charging from the wall on the right, and then you're also connected to solar charging, it will basically charge it to a specific percentage from the wall or grid, and then solar will take over. So it'll switch it to solar so that you get that free charge from the solar panels after it reaches whatever percentage you set it to, which is an interesting feature. And then customize here, you can mess with whatever settings you want, charging or discharging, and control different limits and schedules. And then it has grid self-adaptation mode. Basically, it'll help with unstable power, and you have to enable it in the app. For example, here I'm in Florida, South Florida, and sometimes depending on like hurricane season, we'll have like brownouts or like very short power outages, but they happen frequently. So it could be useful for that in my case, but I'm sure there's several other cases where this would be applicable. So nice little feature to have there. These are the two cables that they list as optional. If you need them, lead acid battery charging cable on the right, yeah, with the clamps and then the solar charging cable on the left. In my personal case, I would definitely want the solar charging cable, or I would just find one online that's a third party, likely cheaper. But either way, those are your optional additional cables for hooking up to different equipment. All right, so one of the items that comes with the BLUETTI is a grounding screw. If you don't know what it is, it's when you're using AC power. It's basically to protect your power station so it doesn't malfunction if there's a issue with the AC electricity. So this is what you use to screw into here next to the AC port, and this is where the grounding screw goes into, and then you basically attach the right sort of connection to this screw and screw it in, and then you're safely grounded. I would definitely do some research on how to properly ground, and if you think you need it, then yeah, it's obviously the recommended thing to do if you're using this often. All right, and here are the grounding guidelines, just in addition to what I was talking about the screw. Only use the grounding terminal when the product is connected to the home grid using a 2-pin cable, or if the wall outlet's grounding is ineffective, and the connected device features a metal case. Yeah, so 2-prong, just like the, I guess I should have been grounding it, but yeah, there's 2 prongs instead of that 3-prong one, and then it shows you use a cable with OT terminals for grounding. Connect one end to the terminal with the grounding screw, other end to the wall outlet or home distribution box. The rating is IP20, and this is not like anything special. The 2 in this means protect against solid objects greater than 12.5 millimeters, so protect it against fingers and like getting your finger like stuck in it. And then the 0 here means that there's no protection against liquid. So yeah, I mean, there's still covers on certain ports, but it's not protected against liquid. Not even water resistant. It's not protected against liquid, so keep that in mind. This I thought was pretty wild. It can be safely stored in a temperature range of negative 20 degrees Celsius to 40 Celsius, or negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit to 104 degrees, which is pretty crazy. It says if the storage duration exceeds 1 month, it's recommended to maintain ideal storage temperature of around 30 degrees Celsius, 86 Fahrenheit. All right, so here I have a list of the pros and cons and some other items as we close this out. So overall, what is good? And I have the price. It's a very inexpensive system. I think it's currently around $220. The recharge speed is fantastic, both for solar and for AC charging. You can combine them as well. Discharge performance is also very good. We had a lot of tests on the AC discharge performance. It's very powerful. The lithium iron phosphate battery is always going to be a big win because they last longer than a typical lithium ion battery or lead acid. Features and the BLUETTI application, it's a very good system that is structured. They have updates, and there's a lot you could do with your power station with that app. The weight and size is a benefit. It has a carrying handle, so it's got some portability there. And for something of this size, it's going to be pretty nice to have a big battery for around just under 10 pounds. Quiet operation. So this thing is extremely quiet, and I've tested it multiple times, and even with its capabilities, both at taking in and charging its own battery or outputting, it's very quiet in general. And then lastly, a good DC section. So the car port as well as the 5521 ports, they both work very well. And the USB selection is really impressive, especially due to the 200 plus watt USB-Cs. All right, and what do I take as a few cons here? Well, first I have that you must use the app for the best features. And this is something that kind of stinks. I mean, you can kind of navigate it by using certain button presses, that, like I was going over, but a lot of the very specific needs, like extending the current for your solar charging for the high current mode, that's only available through the app, so you kind of have to use it. The IP20 rating, and this is similar to other power stations, so it's not solely this BLUETTI's own thing, but it has a very low rating for debris as well as water. Next, and this is another thing that is just kind of blatant across the board with these power stations and the companies that sell them. The solar panels that are for the brand are typically very expensive, and that is compared to like a third-party solar panel, and that's portable solar panels or rigid. However, there is an option that I'll share pretty soon here that might be a deal. But in general, the solar panels really increase the price of the system if you buy them with the brand of power station. No battery expansion for this model, and I guess it's understandable because it's a small system. I guess that it probably thought that no one would really want to expand something of this size because portability is really the key here. So that's not really a bad con. And lastly here, the features and the app. Is it possibly overkill for something that is so small in terms of battery size? And I want to say yes, because I mean, I guess it's an odd problem because you could pretty much do anything with the Elite 30 that you could do with a much larger BLUETTI system. And like peak load shifting, like I can't see myself doing that with something this size. Like I would need my AC300, which is like 10 times the size of this. That would be, in my opinion, something worthwhile. But yeah, I just think the features overall in the app are a little overkill for something that is just a smaller battery and doesn't need all these features. Okay, and now for the use cases and who I think this is best for. So I put portable, powerful, and affordable. Those are all three things that this has. And on the left, I think this is for camper vans, people in their trucks and going on excursions, van life, camping, and tailgating. These are just some basic examples. But when I think of this, I think of like kind of a confined spaces and low access to power, little to no access to power. So that's kind of who I see this for. And another example is someone who's doing like drone footage and needs to have power, but they're typically on the go and not close to public areas. Common real world uses. I have some appliances, so 12-volt fridge would be great for this. CPAP machine, although I'm not sure how long it would last on a CPAP because I know that there's certain consumption when it comes to CPAPs. Fast phone, tablet, and laptop charging, so that would make sense if you wanted to use it for some sort of home emergency kit. And lastly, why would I get this? I would get this for my previous reason for device charging during a blackout or a short-term power outage, portability for off-grid activities. So a lot of capabilities there. It's not the most portable, but it has a lot of power. And if you need a lot of power, you can put this in your backpack probably and move around. UPS backup. I really like this feature. I thought it worked really well for the size and the quickness in which it acted. And I also put standby power for home office. So this is literally something I ran into during my review where our power went out, but I didn't have the UPS set up, but it would have clicked on right away if I did. And lastly, like road trips or a car side utility. So something that you could have in your truck or just in the trunk in case you needed it. And my thoughts here, it doesn't need a ton of features for what it's meant to do. And I already mentioned that earlier. The battery may be too small for some use cases. Already mentioned that as well. But if portability camping, like you need the portability, if you don't need that, I have some options here. I have three options that I think are beneficial. And I actually do have one for if you're on the go. It's the last one here. So the Elite 100 V2 is a great option, that and the 200 V2. The 100 V2 is actually at a great price currently. I checked Amazon, so that could change, but $420. It's 25 pounds, relatively portable, and just over 1,000 watt hours right here. So $419. It's a pretty good deal for how much power you get. It's like a beefed up version of the current Elite 30. In addition here, I have the Elite 200 V2, which is twice the size of the Elite 100. It's heavier, so it's pretty much just twice everything, including the price. But I think it's still a very fair price for what it can do. But it is going to be a standby backup at home system. This isn't something that you'll be able to just carry around like the Elite 30. Lastly here, I have the Elite 30 V2, and it comes with a 100 watt solar panel. And this was kind of a surprise to me because usually the solar panels are a lot more. expensive. So I found this here on Amazon. I don't understand what ship separately means, but it is down here. So I'll have the links in the description as well for you guys if you're curious about those and want to check them out. I'll also have links to BLUETTI's website because they sometimes have deals. So yeah, for example, the current model that I'm reviewing, the Elite 30 has a $219 price tag, and I believe it's free shipping as well. So that could be very beneficial, especially when the Elite 30 is more expensive on Amazon currently. So yeah, it's currently $239. So there's certain things, certain options, and I would ponder if you're interested in these and find the best deal for you. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth review, and like the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know what kind of feedback you have or any questions, and I'll answer them in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and thank you for watching.